Hello friends, Greg here. Welcome to Modular Curiosity episode 12. Can you believe 12 episodes in already? Doesn't seem like I've been doing this for that long, and here we are. Actually, I've been doing this for about 2 months now, and I just wanted to give out my personal thanks to everyone because I checked my YouTube stats today, and in about 2 months I have 326 subscribers and over 9,000 views. And just a ton of really positive comments on my YouTube videos and on the Facebook VCV Rack official users group. And so I just want to say thank you back because I sure do appreciate that. So what are we going to learn about today? Well, you may have seen this patch come up in my feed where I was talking about Dinko Klobacar, I hope I say it right, and this amazing video that he did about using LFOs, modulated LFOs, to create generative melodies. And I just thought it was so cool. I'm going to show you what I learned from that video, and I also want to point you to his videos in the description below. And I'll tell you what, he only has, I think, 4 videos out. One of them is performance, 3 of them are tutorials. These tutorials are amazing. You should go over and subscribe. He's in the high 400s of subscribers right now. How about the Modular Curiosity team go over there and push him over 500? Wouldn't that be a cool thing to do? Because his tutorials are great. He has a tutorial just on noise. Yeah, you wouldn't think there'd be that much on noise, but no, he does some amazing things with noise. So today I'm going to try to share what I learned from him about creating melodies with LFOs. So let's go do that right now. Okay, so what I've set up here is a pretty basic patch. I have a VCO going into a reverb. Just give me a little space. You can't really hear it right now because there's no change. I have, let's set this back to 0. I have a quantizer. Ooh. So we remember what quantizers are. We pick notes within a scale, and whereas we have a variable voltage over here, it takes those and locks them into set voltages which make specific notes in the scale. So if we look at our output of our LFO, we can see that we have a triangle wave. So if we take that triangle wave and we feed it through our quantizer, then we should hear a scale go up and down. Now right now we don't hear anything. Why is that? Well, it's because we're using a dual attenuverter. Remember, when the attenuverter is centered, the volume is 0. So now we're going to let more and more of this waveform through. Now we slow the frequency down. And of course we can use the offset to push that scale higher or lower. And we've done this before, of using the dual attenuverter such that the upper knob selects the width of let's say the range of notes. What's the lowest note to highest note range? If I push it up, we'll get a much wider scale. If I bring it down, we'll make the width of the scale much smaller. And then this knob will offset it higher or lower, so we can make the scale go lower. Or we can push it up higher. Now that in itself is pretty cool. But what Dinko showed in his video is, what if you use a WAV folder? Now, WAV folders, I kind of understand what they do. I don't fully understand how this one works. I've been playing with a lot of different ones to see how I could best explain it and understand it, because hey, you know, this is This is modular curiosity. I'm just being curious. I'm trying to discover for myself. Okay, there. Now I have something that kind of looks reasonable in the scope here. And you can see that what we're doing is I'm feeding a triangle wave into this. And it's taking the bottom half of this wave and starting to fold it over. And watch what happens if I turn this knob. You can see it's getting sharper and sharper. And what happens if I turn this knob? Up, it starts folding the top of the waveform over. So what we're doing is we're making kind of a complex LFO waveform. Let me play with the offset. What does offset do? Okay, well, it does exactly what we think. It pushes it up or down. Okay, well, now we have this weird complex waveform where the tops and bottoms of the triangle wave are folded over. What if we use that as our LFO input to the quantizer? What happens to our melody? You get an interesting little melody. Now what if we make the gain higher? Okay, so it looks like this gain knob pushes the top up. This one pushes the bottom. Now, let's slow it way down. And what if we change our scale a little bit? Say put a minor in there, put a dominant seventh in. Okay, so we're starting to get interesting little melodies. But here's the thing that I thought was really brilliant on Dinko's part. He put in a clock. So let's use our, the simple clock, my favorite clock. And we're going to use, where is it? Audible Instruments Utilities. Okay, because Utilities has a sample and hold. Now we've not done a sample and hold before. So let's take this off and let's talk about sample and hold. What sample and hold does is you will feed something into the input, and it's normalized to have noise put in. If you've, let's go to here. Noise is literally what sounds like static. What it actually is very, very fast random changes to every possible note that it can hit. It's moving so quickly that we're just basically hearing every note at the same time, and it comes out as noise. Now what a sample and hold does is it takes the trigger, and every time that trigger happens, it's going to take whatever note is coming to the input, and if we don't have anything in the input is normalized to noise. And it's going to hold that. So here's what happens. See, so what we're getting is random notes. Now what if we put that through an attenuator? Well, we can do the same thing. In that the white knob determines the range of the notes, and the red knob is the offset. By the way, VCF, there we go. By the way, if instead of fluctuating the pitch, we fluctuate the filter. You know what, let's do it with the volt filter because that sounds more like a Moog. Sawtooth into here, say 24 into there, CV to here, give it a good amount of Hey, does that sound familiar to anyone? Does it almost sound like you should be saying, "Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside." Well, that's what a sample and hold is. That's a classic example of a sample and hold. Okay, we're back. And what I've done is I've taken the clock and I've run it to the trigger of the sample and hold. I have the input of the sample hold coming from our wave folder, and the output of the sample hold going into my attenuverter and then into the quantizer and so on and so forth. We can put that aside because we're not using that right now. So what this is doing, instead of having it slide up and down this waveform, we're choosing beats, in this case 128 beats per minute, and every beat it's going to freeze the voltage at whatever is coming out of that waveform at that moment. And let's see what the difference is. You can see here how the melody is sort of following the waveform up and down. And if I give it a little wider range, it will tend to follow the blue line more closely. And we change the speed of our LFO and of our clock. Okay, I'm not getting much variation here. I think I need more offset. There we go. Interesting. Now, of course, that long cycle, that long tone is maybe not quite as pleasant as it could be. So let's do this. Let's run, let's use our favorite, the Rampage. And we're going to take the trigger, also trigger that from the clock, and have that go to, this is really a classic setup. You know how we're going to do this. We're going to have a VCA, right? We're going to have the VCA coming from here. We're going to have our output from here coming to there, our output from here coming to here. And what's going to happen is every time this beats, we're going to have a note. So now let's decide how long should that note last. And we could even take this and modulate it with the same envelope. Now, one of the things I was playing with earlier, and it's a trick I use all the time, and you'll probably immediately figure out what's going to happen here. Let's see. Bernoulli gate. Yep, you know what's happening. We're going to turn some of those notes off. By turning the knob this way, we're going to have this coin flip, which sometimes doesn't send a trigger through. Now, by playing with the wave folder, we can change the melody. What if we did a sawtooth? course, our red attenuverter button can change the range. So by using really interesting LFO waveforms, we're actually creating a melody that we're not playing on a keyboard, a melody that's being generated by the synthesizer. That's pretty cool. But then that reminded me of something we did way back on the Rampage video. So let me set that up. Okay, we're back. And what I'm doing here is that I set up two waveforms in the Rampage, using the Rampage as an LFO. Now, if I look at the output of A, we can see that what I've set up is basically a sawtooth, right? It's going up, and then it drops, and it reaches it, boom, there it goes, and it drops. And then on output B, I have a triangle wave. Well, what I could do is I could use the max, and what it'll do is whichever wave is higher at that moment, whoop, there we go, that's what I need. It'll pick that part of the waveform out. And what just happened there is I had a balance. If I come this way, I only see this side of the waveform. If I balance it this way, I see this side of the waveform. That is this LFO. And I could actually mix the two together using this balance. And if we use that as our voltage per octave, it's pretty weird. This goes there. This goes here. Again, we've created a new melody. And if I use the minimum, we can create these really low notes. So let's use the attenuverter to bring it back up in audio range. And by modifying our waveform balance, we can change the melody. And hey, what if we change the slope of this rise? We get really interesting subtle changes in our melody. And notice it doesn't really sound like random notes, it sounds more melodic. Now what if I let this ring a little more and I use maybe fewer beats? Now it's really starting to sound more melodic. It's not just sounding like a pulse of random notes. We can actually hear this scale. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so your assignment is to come up with a complex low frequency waveform, a really interesting small low frequency slow waveform. Use that and a sample hold to drive your quantizer in whatever scale you want. I mean, let's make it there. As we change scales, we've completely changed the melody. try these different variations. Try the width, the range of your notes from high to low. Try sort of where the center point is with this. Play with the speed of the rise and fall. Play with how often the notes fire. And of course, try different waveforms, different filters, different effects. See what you can come up with. Generative music, forming melodies using LFO frequencies. I just thought that was an incredibly cool idea. And I've been having a lot of fun this week playing with this, so I wanted to share it with you. All right, folks, well, that's it for episode 12. We'll see you next week. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe because that does help me out. And again, as always, stay curious. Okay, we'll see you next time.